not guilty of something. I just want to make sure that you know that these are not your typical aggravated robberies.
Royce, I understand that boys will be boys.
And you know you're much better suited to decide their fate than some emotional jury.
The rule of law affects not only those involved, but those who observe.
Come on, Joe. You know we both know the rules of law. I just want to make sure that if my request for probation is nowhere close to where you're leaning, just give me an opportunity to prepare my client. That's all I'm asking you, Joe.
Fair enough.
All rise. Judge Kendall presiding. You may be seated.
Gentlemen, all the evidence in this case indicates to me that your true motive was the most common of all motives for crime, and that is greed. And despite all of the media and public attention that this trial has received, today here in my courtroom, you are nothing more than a bunch of common criminals. Criminals that went out and pulled guns on innocent, hard-working citizens. You terrified them, you took their money, and you did this because it was simply an easier way to obtain money than to actually go out and work for it. And even though you never shot or killed anyone, as defendants before this court, you cumulatively have committed in the last 6 months more armed robberies than Bonnie and Clyde did in their entire life. When I call your name, would you please stand? Mr. Evans. Son, when it comes to violating the law, it simply doesn't matter that you can run a football down the field. And for the robberies you committed, I sentence you to 4 20-year terms in the State Department of Corrections, all to be served concurrently. Order in the courtroom. Order in this courtroom. I will have order.
You don't do that.
Order in the courtroom.
No, that's my baby.
Order in this courtroom. Order, please, ladies and gentlemen. Order in the court.
Take my babies away. Get out of here. Dad, what's wrong?
Mr. Edwards, would you stand, please? For the robberies you have committed, I sentence you to 3 16-year terms in the State Department of Corrections, all to be served concurrently. You may be seated. You may be seated. Mr. Campbell.
Jackson, did you have a statement? Do you have anything that you can tell us?
Son, I believe you have some serious psychopathic tendencies, and frankly, you scare me. And for that reason, I am sentencing you to 4 25-year terms in the State Department of Corrections, all to be served concurrently. Be seated. Mr. Allen, for the robberies you have committed, I sentence you to 3 13-year terms in the State Department of Corrections to be served concurrently. Be seated. Mr. Williams, for the robberies you committed, I sentence you to 3 14-year terms in the State Department of Corrections, all to be served concurrently.